This is kind of weird because technically I should talk about this movie because I technically suggested it, but I don't.
Why did you suggest it, Alec?
Well, Sam Slade, flashbacks to Alec, you should suggest Day of the Dead. Oh, and here's Blackcoat's daughter.
You asked for suggestions. You're like, I don't have any, what do I do?
No, I'm pretty sure the exact conversation was, please suggest Day of the Dead. Oh, by the way, here's some other suggestions.
No, I didn't suggest Day of the Dead because you guys were going to make fun of me. I didn't realize that was going to happen anyways.
You should have known. You should have known that we'd make fun of you for suggesting Day of the Dead. So anyway, Day of the Dead review. That's what we're doing today. This leads us into our new announcement that all of October is going to be the Uncle Mickey's Spooky Fest.
Wow!
That means we're gonna watch one spooky movie every week.
Wow! Every single day for the next year.
In October.
It's very easy.
Which means that's why that's a pumpkin. And we're watching a spooky movie next week.
That's why Spider-Man's right there.
That's why Spider-Chan's got his head backwards.
Because he's the exorcist.
He's the exorcist. The exorcist always turns his head around.
So The Blackcoat's Daughter is a movie that I suggested because I was enthralled by its visuals and the trailer that I definitely saw and the things that I had definitely heard of it through other sources that are not Sam Slade or anyone else in this room, but completely on my own, the things that I found.
Hey, Dad is calling.
I recommend that if you have not seen The Blackcoat's Daughter and you are interested in it, that you skip to this point in the video, past the trailer, and just continue on with the spoiler-free segment of our review.
To see where you and Mom are, if you're coming.
Worst case, they come on Friday and everyone goes home and has a really nice break. After all, we can't let you live here.
But you know about the sisters, don't you? They worship the devil.
Catherine, is there something wrong?
So going into it, I knew that it was a movie that Sam Slade. I actually don't remember if you had already seen it prior to suggesting it, or if
he had.
Okay.
Yeah, he did.
So yeah, you had seen. You suggested it the week before that. Had you
seen it? I had not seen it at that point.
Okay.
No.
So yeah, the first time Sam Slade suggested it, he hadn't seen it, and it sounded kind of interesting then, just on the premise of it's a 2017. Did it come out this year?
No, it came out 2015.
Okay, 2015.
No, it came out 2015.
So I didn't know much about it besides the fact that Sam Slade liked it, which meant that it was going to be boring.
No. What? No. It's not boring at all, is it, Kevin?
No, it is not.
So Sam Slade, what did you think going into A Blackcoat's Daughter, movie that I suggested that you knew nothing about?
Well, once you suggested it, I realized I'd seen it already. I was like, oh, I'm so glad Alec suggested that movie that I've seen. I don't have to watch one.
You're like, oh, I've seen that.
Oh yeah, I have. But yeah, I only knew like almost nothing about it. I was like, Red Letter Media talked about it, which means I'm interested in seeing it, whether it's good or not. I mean, they like a lot of movies I don't like, but...
Well, Jay especially is always spouting out weird horror movies that are like 50-50.
Yeah.
Like they could be really boring and bad like The Witch. Or,
You haven't even finished it. Shut up.
I have. It's boring and bad.
Okay, well, you can say that. He can't.
I'm always, my radar is always like, oh, like a few years ago came out. It's a horror movie. Yep. Nobody saw it. That
Yep.
It
has one of the Emmas in it.
It has one of the Emmas in it.
Yep.
So I was like, yeah, I'll suggest that. And then I watched it because it was just on Amazon Prime. I was like, I might as well. And I liked it a lot. I liked it like once it ended, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so clever, that movie.
But just like Sam Slade, I also didn't know anything. I never heard of it before.
Yeah. But, not until Alex suggested.
Yeah, not until Alex suggested, and Sam's like remembered that he had seen it. But yeah, see, that's where we're different because I did not remember that I had seen it.
You didn't remember that you had seen it until after you watched it.
Right, and then I was like,
oh, I've
seen
seen
I
this
think
movie
I have
now.
seen that. Yeah. I think I saw it once.
Today.
Yeah, I went in knowing literally nothing about it. All I knew was just from like just the IMDb score, pretty much.
Oh, it's got
And-
a terrible IMDb.
yeah, it's got a 5.8,
Yeah.
which does not make sense to me because something I always go back to when it comes to IMDb ratings that are kind of off was Event Horizon, because I completely underestimated Event Horizon because of its IMDb score. I'm like, oh, it's got a 6 point whatever. Like, it's probably not that great. And then it turns out I really liked it. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. I thought this was, on a technical level, better than Event Horizon,
I just wonder.
but is somehow way lower.
Usually when movies
You know?
get like that, where it's like they have a horrible score on like Rotten Tomatoes or like IMDb or whatever, and then I see it's like, even if I like it, I'm like, oh, okay, I think people didn't like this because of this.
Yeah, there's usually like something you can be like, oh, okay.
It's probably because
well,
it's slow.
it's not, like even like Event Horizon.
No
like, even
male
though I
characters.
even though I love
I didn't
Event
like it because there
Horizon,
wasn't any men.
There was no men in it.
like there wasn't.
So I'm gonna be a little bit of an outlier here because I didn't like it that much.
No?
I thought it was fine, but I think it fails on more things that it tries to do than succeeds at. I think it does a few things really well, but I also think it does a lot of things really poorly.
I don't think it's like perfect. It's just that when that ending hit, I was like, I like this movie a lot. I like because it just like because the whole movie as a whole, like I was like, it was starting to lose me by the end because I was like, oh, are they just, is this their point? And then they had their point, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes the whole movie itself good in my eyes, you know?
You're always about those Rosemary's Baby endings, just saving the movie for you, Sam Slade.
It's different than Rosemary's Baby though.
I'm just saying.
It's really sad. It's really depressing.
No, it is very sad. I liked the ending a lot, but I feel like leading up to it, a lot of the event. Well, that's spoilers. But basic review. Did you like it? Obviously, you guys both do. But if you would like, elaborate a little bit more.
If you like slow burns and like really creepy atmosphere, then you should see it definitely.
Something I will applaud it for is that while it's slow, it's not like too slow. Like it's only an hour and a half or whatever, and
Yeah.
it doesn't overstay its welcome. So like if it was as
Soundtrack's
long,
really good.
The soundtrack's great. That's one of the things that I really, it builds mood very well. Like the thing that I think it nails is mood and atmosphere, which is very applaudable because that's not
Which is
easy.
what I like a lot.
That's not easy at all. In fact, that takes you a lot.
Yeah, so it's definitely carried a lot by its mood and atmosphere, which is helped a lot by its soundtrack, which is really good. Yeah, I think it sets up its tone really well, and it keeps that tone.
Yep.
I really like
Not
that.
a single joke in that movie. It's very dour.
There is a point about halfway, like, so tone I like. Plot is very predictable at a certain point. Like the first half of the movie, I was like, oh, what's gonna happen? It's got the mystery. It's like, ooh, this movie wants to be Suspiria, but it's coming out this year, and it's not Suspiria. And then the halfway point hits, and I knew exactly what was gonna happen from there on out. Like once the diner scene happened, I was like, oh, that's where the movie's going. And
Yeah, no, same here, but I did not expect the point of it to be what it was.
No.
Like, I knew what was happening. I was like, oh, that's what this is. That has to be it. And that's where, like, again, the movie was losing me, like you were saying. Like,
Yeah.
it just, like, kind of goes down. Like, I was thinking, I'm like, is that all you're trying to show me? Is this? Like, is that, like, your whole point with this is... You know, without saying anything, it's like, yeah, I don't think that's that interesting until, like, the last, like, 2 minutes of the movie. You're like, oh, that's what you were trying to tell me.
yeah.
To be honest, I did not see anything coming for the most part.
I would have loved it if Sam Slade and I were really mean about it before that. Like, oh, you would have to be a stupid
had to
fucking
be- you had to
idiot
be
to
such
not.
an idiot.
You would have to not have a brain to not see what was happening.
It's so obvious. They might as well write it on the screen. I would say flaws the movie has is, so with its point and ending, like I felt like as a whole, there's a lot of stuff where they're like, all right, so we have like 15 minutes of content here. What else should we, okay, so she's pregnant.
She's pregnant.
And,
Oh,
like-
Sam Slade, I have a whole rant
Like-
about the pregnancy.
Like, it's just like, there's a lot of stuff where you're just like, this has no real levity on the plot
so
in the grand scheme of things.
One of my biggest problems with a lot of it is that the movie doesn't have any characters until the very end. Like the character arc that's important or interesting does not get revealed to you until the very end. Like it's never even, it's barely sprinkled in through the rest of it. Like it's a slow burn, but it's a slow burn to the point where you don't even get an idea of what the character arc that you're supposed to be interested in is, and then it's just dropped on you at the end. But no
Well,
other.
I think it's all there. It's just you wouldn't realize it until they tell you.
Possibly. I mean, I admit
it's
that
all
I
pretty
could
much
change
there.
that on a second viewing, knowing what happens, but also, like, besides that girl not really being a character till the end, the other girl really isn't a character. Like, she has a boyfriend. That's her personality. She has a boyfriend, and her boyfriend got her pregnant, and she might be having an abortion. Like, that's the whole, like, that's her character. She doesn't have really any, other than that, you know, it's just...
Well, like, it's really interesting. I feel like I would have that problem, but I strangely don't, because I think because of the way the movie is played, it's played for the kind of unraveling mystery kind of thing. It feels like everything just kind of happens, but I think if you see the grand scheme and you see the bigger picture, I could easily see it be like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. I think things would make more sense. That's why I wanted to see it a second time myself. So that's just my opinion.
We should get into spoilers.
All right, so spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, I would say go see it. Even though I wasn't the biggest fan of it, I'd still say it's as compared to A24's other horror movie I saw this year, it's much better.
Oh, right, it's an A24 movie.
Yeah.
Wait, is it an A24?
It was
It
A24.
was, yeah.
Oh, wait. Okay, so if we're in spoilers, this is a spoiler.
Spoiler.
The cinematography is very hit and miss. Like, there are some shots that I'm like, oh my god, you thought that was a good shot? Why did you do that? Like, there's one shot in the beginning where I took a note of it because I was like, that's a terrible shot, and it cut back to it twice, and it's just this really weirdly framed shot of the back of the main girl's head, the demon girl. And it cut back to it twice, and both times it stood out to me because I was just like, that's not a good looking shot. Like, it's weird. I can't see what purpose it serves. With a horror movie like this, you have a lot of opportunity to use cinematography to help tell your story. And that shot not only didn't do that, it was also just boring to look at, and it was there for a long time. But there's also just like the cinematography never really surpasses serviceable, which...
I disagree. I love the cinematography overall, personally. Clash.
Yeah, I mean, I just like there's never a point where I was like, wow, that was a good shot, or like, wow, this is really crazy. Like, it looks fine. The look of the movie overall is good because the locations and the color palette is very fitting for the tone.
It reminded me of Let the Right One In. Like, it looked like that a lot to me.
Yeah, I get that.
I didn't think there was a problem with the cinematography overall, though. I think it was, like you said, it was at least serviceable. Sometimes was good, like with lighting and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I liked it because with, you could say, oh, the lighting was great, but it's like, well, that's part of cinematography. So every time I thought the lighting was great, I'm like, well, this is a dynamic looking shot. Like, it pops. Like, I want to look at it, kind of thing. Like, that's part of what kept me interested.
Catherine, have you checked your cellular phone? Maybe they called you there.
So where the movie was starting to lose me was like, once you realize, okay, so this girl, Emma Roberts is the same
older,
girl
yeah.
as the other, the main character girl.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that was the problem I had with the movie, where I was like, they should have put that further in the future, because like it.
Well, they look almost the same age.
They look almost the same age.
Yeah.
So you're like, I don't know why she looks so much different. If they would have made her older, then it's like, oh, she's older, she looks different. Like, who cares? But like, it was like, oh, like 10 years later, she looks.
Yeah,
basically
she
the
looks
same.
basically the
Like,
same.
she wouldn't
age.
look that much different. But yeah, I was like, so is the point just that this family's with this girl that murdered a bunch of people, and she murdered the girl and all that, and that's what this event is, and that's all the point is that the family's with her right now? And I was like, that's pretty lame. And that's what it seemed like it was going, because it was building up a bunch. It's like, oh, she just murdered them and cut their heads off, and she's all sitting there, and I'm like,
she's all,
and I was like, oh yeah, okay,
Satan.
that's what I
Ooh.
thought. Yeah, okay. But then, right at the end, she comes there and she comes to the furnace thing. Like, oh, she's back at that. That's weird. To that specific one. Is that where Satan lives?
Satan's there, dude.
That is
Satan's
where
there.
Satan lives in the furnace, dude. Haven't you seen Home Alone?
And that's interspliced with the whole like with her getting exercised and like
yeah.
and
the
Satan leaving.
Satan,
Which
or the
Satan is
demon.
real creepy in this.
So I
movie.
want to the actual
Satan.
the creepiest thing about Satan to me is that there's a handful of nightmares that I had a while ago, and Kevin's heard all these nightmares, and the demon in all of those nightmares literally looked exactly like that. It was the scariest part of the movie to me, because every time I saw it, I was like, that looks eerily familiar. So that was really creepy.
It's not even that. It's also his voice and how often he uses profanity. It's really weird, because it's like I was like, that makes a lot of sense though. Just like he's just vulgar in general. I like
Kill
that
the cunt.
Yeah, he just says "kill the cunts" like 50 times. Like he says it a lot. Kill the cunt.
Well, it was actually Arya Stark who played the devil.
She did.
Yeah.
Okay, it reminded me of like The Exorcist and stuff. How like when what's her face was all possessed, she was saying,
Kill the cunts.
Yeah, she was saying "kill the cunts." And stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, she gets to the furnace and you're like, oh, shut the furnace. And then at the end she's just crying and then it ends and I'm like, what the heck? And I was like, oh shoot, that's why she really misses the devil.
She wanted Satan.
She misses Satan.
She misses Satan a lot. Like,
She's
enough
really
that, like,
sad that the Exorcist.
How long has she been killing people just to try and find
Just to
what is
get
up with
Satan back?
Yeah, it's really, and it's like, is it a father-daughter thing? It probably is. It's probably more of a father-daughter thing instead of like a relationship thing.
Yeah.
Because of the title, but
the movie,
I thought that was really interesting.
The movie also does, I mean, there's also some weird things that I thought were going places that weren't. I mean, obviously the pregnancy one is a big thing because the movie sets up the other big main character in the movie is another girl.
They had to fluff up their story better.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah. No. So they add this secondary character, Rose, I think her name was in the movie. And they're just like, you know, these two girls at this boarding school. They give her a little side plot where they're both stuck at the school for a few days together, which I think that could have been more interesting. And a really big missed opportunity to build both of their characters together is if they cut out the whole pregnancy thing and just had the two girls there with each other. I think that could have helped kind of progress the slow burn.
Yeah.
Like the slow burn, I feel happens relatively fast. Like if you cut out the intercuts between what's happening in the future or present, that whole story actually develops really quickly. Like it's only a slow burn because it's intercut between other things happening. Because like the chain of events are the girl goes, the girls get trapped there. And then the one girl goes to check, to tell her boyfriend that she's pregnant, comes back, and then she finds the girl hailing Satan or whatever. Yeah. And then, like, a few scenes later,
because it's parents coming to school day, and,
yeah.
and her parent is Satan.
Yeah, Satan came to school.
Satan came to school, and she was really happy about it.
Did you kill the cunts yet?
And then he's like, I'm sorry, you can't be my daughter. You're being exercised. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go. She's like, no, please. You're my only parent. You killed my parents.
I don't roll with that.
I don't. Closing thoughts, really interesting. That's the most I can give it is that, like, that ending. Well, now that it's been spoiled for you, it's just like when that hit, I was like, that is such a good idea. It could have been done better. You're right.
Yeah,
I just think either way, the fact that they came up with that and then they executed it the way they did, I was like, that's really cool.
I really wish that the idea had been executed better because I did like the ending, but by the time it hit, I was just like, whatever. I'm bored. And I wasn't bored. Bored's the wrong word. I was just like, the movie felt kind of predictable and cliched by that point where I was like, oh, it's the Exorcist girl and she's, yelling kill the cunts or whatever. Like, it just felt done before, and then at the very last second, it introduces an interesting concept. So it's like, oh, wait, I want more of that. Like, I wish the movie was that more.
But the movie was that. And that's what was
But I didn't feel that. Like, it feels like it's thrown in at the end, and then it is that. Like, it could be, like, I could feel that way on a second viewing, but this viewing, I didn't feel that at all.
Like, I did. Like, I like thinking back on it and stuff. And just all of that, I was like, that's so cool. Good one movie. But yeah, it could have been fluffed up better or just had a stronger first and second act in general. But either way, I'd still say it's good. I'd still say it's really good. And I wanted to talk about it just in general because nobody's seen it. And I was like...
I'm also hating on the movie more than I think I would in regular conversation just because, I'm playing it up a little bit. Because I didn't hate the movie. I think I would recommend it if, like... I wouldn't say, Brian, you should go see it, but, if someone who loved horror movies was like, hey, should I see that Blackcoat stout? I'd be like, yeah, go
Brian
see
wouldn't
it.
see it because the girl gets stabbed a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I don't think that.
Something I will give it credit for, and a reason I think people should go see it, is because it does horror very well. Like, the movie's very spooky, and it does the eerie buildup of spook.
Not enough movies do that nowadays.
No. So anyway, Kevin, what are your suggestions?
So the first one is one from the early 80s, stars Barbara Hershey, and it's called The Entity, and it is based on a allegedly true story about a woman who claims to have been raped by a demon repeatedly over a long period of time, and it's actually heavily debated. It's one of the most debated paranormal files ever.
Why are you laughing?
It's not a demon at all. It's just some guy that lives next door.
He puts on
He
a
happens
mask.
to be black. Like,
Oh
she's
my
just like-
god.
She's like, it's him. He's a demon. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
The other one is one I've suggested before, but it's scary, so I'm bringing it back.
Is it David Bed?
No, it's inside. And then
Looks gross.
and then there's one that's a little more lighthearted, and it's lighter on the horror also, and that's The Guest. The
All right.
Guest is a new
I think I'm gonna go. My vote's gonna be with the entity or just entity.
The Entity.
The entity. Yeah, my vote's gonna be with the entity.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.